Liverpool with their own take on the current 6-7 trend. That's it. It's going viral at the moment, but 6 defeats in 7 for Arne Slot's side. Thanks, Jamie. Good sport, Jamie, because I refuse to do it. Right. Good morning, Jamie O'Hara.
Morning.
10 changes for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Do you think they should have prioritised getting a win rather than resting players?
Tough question to answer because obviously they've got big games coming up and, you know, it's important that they get points on the board in the Premier League because it's been terrible. But I expected a lot more from last night. The game, they're at home. You know, Crystal Palace are a really good side, don't get me wrong, but I think they needed to field a stronger side. I think he put the young kids out there, really and truthfully, just to be like, I don't want to be in this competition. I don't fancy it. The bench was a disgrace. You know, like when you look at the other teams that have been in the competition, Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, yeah, they made changes, but the benches were strong. So if it wasn't going your way or you wanted to, you know, maybe get back in the game or make something happen, they had players there to come on and make something happen. Like Arsenal did with Saka, he comes on, he scores. Liverpool's bench last night, he threw the towel in. He waved the white flag and said, I don't want to be in the competition. That says to me that he knows that he's under huge pressure at the moment to get results in the Premier League and the Champions League. So he's just binned the Carabao Cup. I think he kind of, like, lambs to the slaughter a bit, you know, with the young kids, putting them out there. It was a bit harsh on them. Crystal Palace are a good side. You put young kids out there, you know, in front of Liverpool fans who are a bit edgy at the moment, and they got battered.
Yeah, and a full house as well, wasn't it? And
yeah.
They wouldn't be very happy. Let's hear what Slot said on his decision to rotate so many players.
Before I went out, I saw City's lineup, and I don't think they had one starter from the weekend. But it felt as if you look at their lineup, they played with their 11 starters. When we played Chelsea, I said they're missing 8, but they can still bring Estevao in. Now we're only missing 4. To me, it's the right decision, but and I haven't changed my opinion about that after the results.
So he's saying that Manchester City can make 10 changes but still put out a quality side.
Yeah.
And in fairness, they did.
Yeah.
So, but should Liverpool be able to do that, given how much money they spent?
Well, look, they've spent a lot of money, but I defend Slot a little bit here, and I think he's coming in for a lot of criticism because everyone's saying, he spent 500 million, he spent £500 million, you put that team out. I agree to a certain extent, but here's the thing. A lot of players have left Liverpool. Do you know, like, when you go through the list of players that have actually gone, Núñez, Trent, Quansah, Diaz, Tsimikas, Harvey Elliott, and sadly, tragically, Diogo Jota, who passed away. So they've had to replace them players. They went and spent crazy amounts of money, broke the transfer record twice on Florian Wirtz and Isak. Isak got injured. Florian Wirtz hasn't got going, but they spent, what, 230, 240 million. So but then the other players they've had to replace. You're replacing Diaz. You're trying to replace Núñez. You're replacing Trent. You're replacing Tsimikas. So people say you should have this unbelievable squad. They put a Galactico team together. Yeah, but he's allowed other players have left, so the squad is still a bit thin. It weren't massively overcrowded in the first place. He's only just replaced like for like. Why he let all them players go, I don't know. I wouldn't have let all them players go. Diaz, Harvey Elliott, they know what Liverpool's about. They know the DNA. They know how to win games. They know what it's about, competing at the highest level, week in, week out. He's let them go, and they look like they're struggling, and the new players that come in, they ain't ready to play for Liverpool, some of them.
We'll be asking a fan in a moment, but do you think the fans will they be bothered about the fact that Liverpool have gone out? We don't know. Slot, it seems like, maybe isn't that bothered, but will the fans be more bothered?
I think the fans that were there last night will be bothered. I think they'll feel a bit like that was a bit of a disgrace. They've travelled up there, fans from all over the country, gone up there, paid their money. It's not cheap to go and watch football matches anymore. Full house, and you put a kids team out. It's a bit disrespectful to the fans. You know, and look, if you play a young team and you've got the big boys on the bench, fine. Give them a chance, give them an opportunity, give them a run out, 60 minutes, and then you get the big dogs on. The fact that some of the players, you know, on the bench were like, the squad numbers were 96 and 97, he threw the towel in. And that, to me, is disrespectful to Liverpool fans because they've just bobbed it off.
I don't think anybody is saying that Arne Slot's job right now is under pressure, but how much pressure is he under to keep it beyond the summer?
You say he's not under pressure, Tom. He's got a massive week coming up. They've got Aston Villa, then they've got Real Madrid, then they've got Man City. You know, we're talking about big games coming up. They've lost 6 out of 7, which you can have a laugh with, but that is a bit of a joke. It's Liverpool Football Club, and they're expected to be competing at the highest level. So if he loses another 3 games, who says he gets to Christmas? Seriously, Liverpool got to win the league. That's the job. They've got to win the league.
Yeah, you're right. It's Villa at home on Saturday, Real Madrid next Tuesday at home, and then Man City away before the international break. Then it's Forest at home. In the Champions League, it's PSV. And West Ham away, Sunderland at home, Leeds away. They have got a slightly, better on paper after that.
Yeah, after the international break. But look at the games they have lost already. They've lost games already, Tom, who you'd expect the fixture list would be kind to them. They've got beat. Yeah. They haven't performed. They haven't played well.
Brentford at the weekend.
Yeah, like they've not had a great run, and now they've got some tough games coming up to add to the pressure that's already put them under. Plus they've lost tonight. I know it might not mean nothing tonight at the moment. If they get beat by Villa at the weekend, that's another result that's gone against them. And then they've got Real Madrid. Then they've got Man City. All of a sudden you're staring 8-9 defeats in the face in 2 months. Your job's under pressure.
It's a big week for Liverpool. We can hear from a fan, actually. Steve has sent in a voice note.
Steve from Ellesmere Port. So Slot's just ruined the side this season. Last season his success was built on actually not doing much, keeping the same squad of players in their best positions. This season he's had new toys, some of the best players in Europe available, and he's just been very indecisive with substitutions, playing players out of position, and basically having an effect on their confidence. Klopp always talks about rhythm. Slot's not given us any rhythm this season.
It seems to go back to Arne Slot won the title with Jurgen Klopp's team, which I've always thought was a little bit unfair. What do you think?
I don't think it's unfair. I think it's fact. It was Jurgen Klopp's team. They didn't sign anyone. So, yeah, he won the league with Jurgen Klopp's side. He tweaked the style of play that they played, and he added his own little bit to it in terms of being a little bit more defensive. But that's gone out the window. So you'd look at it, and Jurgen Klopp put a group of players together who knew what it meant to play for Liverpool, knew how to win, knew how to fight, knew how to run, knew how to keep clean sheets. And then Arne Slot's ripped all that apart. Players have left and brought in his own group of players, which is meant to be this super team. But he's putting, square pegs in round holes.
A lot of Liverpool fans seem to be bringing up Jurgen Klopp at the moment.
Yeah.
Actually, Liverpool fans at home, get in touch. Would you prefer Slot or Klopp right now? What do you think?
That's a stupid question. Jurgen Klopp all day. I'll try and get him back. I mean, I know he'd done an interview the other day. And it potentially talked about if he ever got back into management, if he wanted to, he'd only go back to Liverpool. If Jurgen Klopp had this group of players that he's got all of a sudden now, imagine that team under Jurgen Klopp. I think Jurgen Klopp left too soon. When you think about it, he left. He's fighting it out with Manchester City, who had an amazing side. They've gone downhill, and they're a little bit not the same side anymore. Arsenal, all right, they're brilliant this season. Jurgen Klopp could have won 2 or 3 titles with a group of players that he could have put together.
Well, that's the thing. Last season, if people are saying that was Klopp's team anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was Klopp's team. He weren't there, but it was Klopp's team. You can't take anything away from Arne Slot. He won the league, and credit to him. But this season, he's getting found out a little bit. This is his team. He's put a team together of players that he wanted, and it's not looking good. They look all over the place. They can't keep a clean sheet. So, I think there'll be question marks over him at the moment. He's got a big couple of weeks coming up. And, if they could get Jurgen Klopp back, I think they'd have him back in a heartbeat.
Let's speak to a Liverpool fan now then. Josh Sexton joins us. Right, Josh, what did you make of the team selection last night? Not just the starting lineup, but the fact that there wasn't any of your established names on the bench.
I didn't have a great deal of grief with the team selection, to be honest. I think it was part out of necessity with the amount of injuries that Liverpool have at the moment. There's 5 injuries across the squad, really, that you can look at and say they'd have been players who'd have either started that game or they'd have at least started maybe the Brentford game at the weekend, and then their second in command would have started the game last night. So I think there's I can understand people being a bit like the team looks a bit weak on paper and things, but there are obviously lots that go into team selection. It's where I don't envy Slot, to be honest, because I've had gripes with the team selection for weeks in terms of starting out of form players, but I think last night was one of the first times in maybe about 3 or 4 games where I've not had many gripes with the team selection, to be honest.
But what about the bench, though? I understand you want to, rest players and, give other players an opportunity. Well, the bench was a disgrace. Come on. Do you know, like, no other team done that. Arsenal had their best players on the bench.
Man City
Man
had
City,
a strong bench.
Newcastle picked a strong side. Tottenham did. Liverpool threw the towel in. You threw the towel in.
I think disgrace is probably a little bit too far. Like, we can always tend to look at these things as though they're black and white and there's no sort of nuance to them. Liverpool have got to a couple of Carabao Cup finals in a row, really, by just sort of accidentally happening upon the quarter-final stage, and doing that by rotating loads, having bigger squads than unfortunately they've got now. And as I say, that can contribute to injuries. You can look at the transfer window in the summer and look at, did Liverpool strengthen in all the areas they needed to, even with all the money that they spent. And you look at Manchester City and Chelsea spending in particular. I think Slot's clever to highlight both of those teams, because they're teams who over the past few summer transfer windows now especially have spent probably about £200 million, and even more so sometimes in Chelsea's case. So they're bound to have stronger squads. They've got lads who are sort of 3 years into City and Chelsea contracts who've just sort of been kicking around the place and are now coming into their own. So again, I do have a little bit of sympathy with Slot, and yeah, I think if Liverpool would have won that last night, then people would be sat here giving Slot loads of praise, and it's a masterstroke. He's rediscovered Liverpool's identity by playing some of these young players, because the experienced lads haven't been playing that well.
But you didn't win. You lost 3-0 at home, and you're out of the League Cup. I mean, are you bothered that you're out of the League Cup?
I am in a sense that I think Liverpool should be able to compete on all fronts. I'd like Liverpool to have a squad that allows them to compete on all fronts. Liverpool made loads of great signings in the summer. I think part of the problem is when you make loads of great signings at once, and I get a bit sick of this idea of like, oh, they've won the transfer window, and people say that on deadline day or before a player has even kicked a ball in anger for their football team. Liverpool made loads of transfers. Liverpool sold loads of players. Liverpool bought loads of players. There's bound to be a period of transition there. So I don't have many issues really with Liverpool being out of the Carabao Cup at this stage, and the fact that it gives us some nice gaps in the fixture list where we can rest a little bit now. Do I want to be out? Absolutely not, no.
Right, well, how much pressure is Arne Slot under?
Probably a lot from himself. He's the manager of Liverpool Football Club. He's under a lot of pressure to get wins and to achieve Liverpool's expectations this season in terms of his future at the football club, which is what I presume you're asking. I don't think he's under very much pressure at all. We've seen with this ownership in the past, they're willing to give managers time. I remember questions being asked in the early stages of Jurgen Klopp, or even in the sort of lockdown season, the behind closed doors season, I should say, Jurgen Klopp having supposed pressure on his shoulders, but it never truly came to that. Brendan Rodgers went through worse runs than this with less hope and was kept on by this ownership. So I don't think this is an ownership that looks to sack the Liverpool manager at the first signs of any pressure, no least in the middle of the season. Arne Slot won the Premier League and was way ahead of expectation in doing so last season. So
yeah, but he won the league with Jurgen Klopp's team.
Jamie, you know better than that. That's not the way football works. Football managers don't just inherit new teams and then suddenly it's all bright and rosy in the garden. That was a Jurgen Klopp team that finished the season really poorly. The season before, having been looking like they were title challengers for a lot of it, their legs and heads went towards the back end of Jurgen Klopp's tenure. We all saw that.
It was Jurgen Klopp's team.
Yeah, but they played different football under Arne Slot. They played a more composed style. They played a more measured style of football. That's something that's probably gone out the window and thing we're missing the most this season. But
well, it's gone out the window because Arne Slot's brought in his own players, and we're now seeing Arne Slot's real identity of his team. The team that won the league, I get it, I understand it. He tweaked things and defensively better, but it was Jurgen Klopp's side. Them players, the mentality of that group of players was from Jurgen Klopp. What it meant to play for Liverpool, what it meant to defend, what it meant to be disciplined, what it meant to play for that badge. That's all gone out the window because you've got new players. And I know that takes time, and you're right, there's been a big change, but he won the league with Jurgen Klopp's team. This is his side, and now we're seeing what Arne Slot's like as a manager, and he's struggling.
And Jurgen Klopp didn't win the league with Jurgen Klopp's team, so what does that say? You can sit here and look at it from so many different angles. Jamie, Jurgen Klopp's team had not seen a great deal of success besides those Carabao Cup wins, which were great, and I was there and I really enjoyed them, and it's why I enjoyed.
They won every trophy you can win.
No, as in the last few seasons with this team, since he revamped the midfield and since he brought this team in as it is now and its current guys, Jurgen Klopp didn't find major success with his team. Arne Slot won the title, we could all see tangible change on the football pitch. We've all seen tangible change for negative reasons this season. You know, it's not the players that he's brought in as such, because there's no one in the summer that Liverpool lost that I think Liverpool fans would have had major gripes with. He sold Costa Simicast, Darwin Núñez. These are players that had question marks over their head. Luis Diaz is maybe the only one that you'd have looked at and been like, we wouldn't have want to have lost him. We unfortunately had a football player pass away, which, you know, a lot of people seem to have very quickly forgotten in the midst of all of this. Trent Alexander-Arnold was going to go anyway, and I think in the end he didn't exactly go with the best wishes of Liverpool supporters, so no one is wishing for Trent Alexander-Arnold to be back, but he's a big miss, of course, in terms of, you know, tactics and systems. So there's a lot of things that have sort of conspired against Slot here. I think I'm still firmly behind him.
Would you swap Slot for Klopp?
No.
What?
No, not at all. I'm happy with the manager that we've got. We've had Jurgen Klopp. We've had that Jurgen Klopp era.
Oh, do me a favour, mate. Come on, don't talk garbage. You'd take Klopp back in a heartbeat. You'd jump at the opportunity to have Klopp with his team.
Jurgen Klopp's not a football manager anymore. He's a director of global football or whatever his job title is. He doesn't want to manage Liverpool Football Club anymore. He doesn't want to manage Liverpool Football Club anymore. It was the reason why he quit. It was the reason why he said the job was causing him to lose his energy. He'd lost his sort of vigour for it. So I want a manager who wants to manage Liverpool Football Club, and that is Arne Slot. And Arne Slot took us to two of the best days of my life last season, beating former Jamie O'Hara's former team in Tottenham at Anfield and Crystal Palace to win the league title at Anfield. So I'm not going to sit here now and be like, oh, I'm turning on this manager. I want the old manager back. He's the manager who won us the league title last season. It's something Jurgen Klopp has not done in a couple of years because he lost the energy to be able to compete with this Manchester City side. Arne Slot blew everybody out of the water last season. I'm completely happy with him.
Jamie, I do like Josh's loyalty to the manager. I do think that should be applauded.
No, fair play to him. But, you know, he's talking garbage. It's fine.
Why do you think, Jamie, so strongly that they should prefer Klopp to Slot right now?
Because Jurgen Klopp is for me one of the greatest Liverpool managers ever. Arne Slot, look, he won the league last season, and fair play to him. He tweaked a team, which was Jurgen Klopp's side, and he can say it weren't, but it was. This season, we're seeing Arne Slot come under real pressure. I don't know what their team is. I don't think he knows what the best team is. Jurgen Klopp come in. All right, it took him time to get going, but then they were some of the best football I've seen Liverpool play. They were absolutely amazing. Champagne football. You know, it was unbelievable to watch, and they didn't spend loads of money. Now they've got a champagne side, and he ain't playing champagne football.
Well, Josh, we don't know if Slot knows his best side. What do you think Arne Slot's best side is if everybody is fit? You can go 1 to 11 in the formation.
It's a very tricky one to answer at the moment. I believe that Mo Salah, for example, is definitely in Liverpool's best side, but on current form, I wouldn't be necessarily starting Mo Salah in games. I'd have definitely rotated him in the Brentford game at the weekend. I believe you had a bit of blueprint in that Frankfurt game of how Liverpool can play when they're at their best, and it's putting Wirtz in an important position.
Go on then. What would your 11 be against Villa then on Saturday?
Well, Isak is probably going to be injured again for that one, so I'll go with Salah, Ekitike and Gakpo up top. In midfield, I'll go with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Jones. Back four, I'll go Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson. And then I'll go Marmadashvili and Dax Allison's injured.
I agree with that, to be fair.
So, but in terms of the thing there is, in terms of new start, I know there are injuries, but Frimpong came in.
Injured, yeah.
Injured. Kirkes came in. Isak's
really
injured,
form.
but you didn't. Did you pick Wirtz there as well? Did you pick?
No, you didn't have Wirtz on the.
Oh, sorry, no. I'll have
Wirtz
Wirtz in the midfield. I'd have Wirtz in the midfield.
You put Wirtz in for someone. So that when we look back at at the summer transfer window, and you said you hate it when people say they won the transfer window, etc. It seemed certainly from neutrals like myself that Liverpool had done very, very well in the transfer market. In hindsight, what do you think of your business in the summer?
I still think it will turn out to be good business in the end. There's no doubts about that. The problem is when you make that many changes, your continuity is going to be stunted. Obviously, there's going to need to be a period of transition. And, you know, one of the things in which I do agree with Jamie on is that they are Arne Slot footballers that he's brought in, but Arne Slot is going to need time to make them work in an Arne Slot system. And that's why I think he's actually started to rip things up a little bit this season from what was so good last season, really, is because he's trying to progress on to this new thing while also trying to fix the short term. Liverpool won the first 5 games of this season. I think people are quick to forget that. The whole picture of it is that Liverpool came out the traps absolutely flying. The new signings.
They weren't great though. They got results because they got top players. They weren't great.
That's what we always call the form of champions, though, Jamie. Whenever that usually happens, and I believe that there were Liverpool fans and probably pundits and neutrals that Tom refers to there, are like that were saying, that this is a Liverpool team that has the form of champions, and wait till they click, and we're still waiting for when they do click. I don't know when that will be. I hope it'll be when Liverpool aren't completely out the title race, because it's looking like they're right on the cusp of that now. But there's still chances for Liverpool to attain those aspirations they have this season. You look at PSG last season, and even though they obviously always win the French league, they weren't any good in the Champions League until about January time. They suddenly turn it around and turn it on, and then they go and win the Champions League. So who's to say it's Liverpool side, with all the firepower that they do have in terms of expensive signings, can't go and do that as well?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, Jamie O'Hara was texting under the table. He's got a burner account going by the name of Richard, because there's a WhatsApp that's come in. I've got to say, Jamie O'Hara's spot on. Has been spot on, really, since this show started. I'm a Liverpool fan. He doesn't really agree with what you're saying at the moment, Josh. But he says that you're wrong and Jamie O'Hara's right about Slot and Klopp, which I think is supposed to be Klopp. It's fair enough when Jamie was texting without being able to look down.
Yeah, it's me dad.
But I suppose, Josh, I guess the question there is that your views are very strong and backing your manager. Jamie's are the other way round. What do you think the general feeling is? I mean, you'll speak to Liverpool fans, several of them every day. You'll be at Anfield around fans. What is the general feeling at the club at the moment? Not just on Slot, but about this slump.
I think it varies. We're in Anfield last night, people were singing Arne Slot, people were singing You Never Walk Alone at the final whistle. I think there's a genuine faith and hope still, really, that Liverpool can go on to achieve some level of success this season, even if it isn't in the league title. The league title is
what is a
to...
level of success? What is a successful season, and what is simply an adequate season?
I think if Liverpool finish in the top four in the Champions League, that's a successful season, and there's every chance they can still do that.
Yeah.
Top four
in Champions League win.
Top four in Champions League
and win the Champions League.
Yeah.
They've got to win a major honour.
Well, that's a very good season. What about finishing the top four and winning the FA Cup?
I think there'd be some fans who would take that at this stage. I still believe Liverpool have what it takes to win the Champions League. This is a manager who we all think is fantastic. There was so much of what he did last season on the pitch, but also last season what he did off the pitch, really, and inspiring the players. The way he spoke after the passing of Diogo Jota is something that we could have all got behind at the time, and I think people would do well to go back to that and remember how much we have backed this manager over the summer, how much we did back him throughout so much of last season, where Jamie's right to point out that he had Jurgen Klopp's squad and things like that, but it was still a manager new to the league. There's so many things that can go wrong with that. You think back to David Moyes at United, and for the most part he'd have had Alex Ferguson's squad, but it's not necessarily the way it works. You can just immediately put that into action, and there's no thinking behind it. Lots of things were very deliberate. Slot showed really good man management throughout the course of the season, making some ruthless decisions, by the way, as well. And he led Liverpool to a league title. So who's to say that come what may, he can't lead us to something good as well.
Josh, well done. You stood up for yourself.
Well done, Josh. Well done.
Nice one, Jamie.
Take it easy, mate.
See ya.